Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. You need the right person with the right background who can move your business forward. If you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed Sponsored Jobs. With Indeed Sponsored Jobs, your post stands out to quality candidates who actually fit the role. According to Indeed data, 90% are more likely to be hired and trusted by 1.6 million companies. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. Now with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/Podcats13. Just go to Indeed.com/Podcats13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Podcats13. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed.
Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Sh podcast, the podcast show where we unlock potential one dream at a time. Today, we have another guest whose journey is truly worth hearing. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Moneyway experience.
Say, how you doing today, Jill?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, like I said, I'm glad that you could take time out your day to do some reading to come on the show. Hey, so Jill, let's jump right into this. Finding guidance amidst challenges. So, Jill, can you share a little bit about your early journey and how you first connected with tarot and guidance?
Yeah, sure. I'll just mention that all of this metaphysical world that I've gotten myself involved in was really not something that I grew up with. I was raised in the Bronx, working class parents. When I moved to California, I was about 18. And shortly after that, a friend gave me a tarot reading. Didn't know anything about it. And a few days later, she gave me my own deck of cards. What I experienced from that first reading was almost like therapy, I want to say. I felt like the cards knew me, and obviously I took to some of their messages. It was helpful. I felt like there was insight. You know, when we're in our early 20s, we can be going through a lot of things. I was going through a lot of crazy things and needed that guidance. Anyway, she gave me a deck of cards. And because I took to them and was interested, I started to study on my own. And honestly, I never expected to be a professional tarot reader. To this day, I always had day jobs, but word of my skill started to spread actually through my sister. I blame her because she got some reading, she told friends, and it just organically happened. But in my 30s, I started to receive, and you see, I'm laughing. I mean, it's not something I can explain, okay? But I did start to receive some information from some source that I still am in wonder about that absolutely was not coming from me. Information that was way beyond anything I knew, read, understood. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm stupid, but I'm not that well read. And it really blew my mind. But in analyzing it, I think what happened was I was always a creative person. I was a professional musician. I was reading tarot cards, which have pictures. And I think my intuitive side, I definitely know that my intuitive side, that right side, really opened up. And so I think this was something that happened based on that. And also, I will say that maybe in my DNA, something about me specifically that enabled me to say yes. And to kind of take all of this information without saying yes. And that's kind of how I've always been. I'm somebody maybe a little bit of a risk taker. I don't say no as much as I say yes to life and opportunities.
Yeah, because you never know what opportunities lies ahead, you know. And so sometimes, you know, I'm a big believer in, even in the places, Jill, that we may not want to be at that time in life. You know, I may be working at this job that I may not want, or I may, be doing this and I really don't want to do it. But what I've learned and what I found out is that even when you're in the most dire situations and the places that you really hate to get up and go to, there's a learning experience there. And there's something there to take with you to go to the next level. But so many times we get so discouraged in the situation and the position that we're in, we miss that opportunity for that next open door because we continue saying no. Sometimes, as you said, you have to say yes to open up some other things in your life, and that's just how I see it. I could be wrong, but
Well, I agree with you. I could be wrong too, but I see it that way exactly. And sometimes I know in my own life, I haven't always seen it in the moment. Challenges. I remember once being left. I was in a relationship with somebody. I thought, this was the one, and I got dumped. And that was very painful. Like we all have these kind of painful moments. Sometimes they come from the outside. Sometimes I bring them on myself due to my own insecurities. But this was from the outside. And it took me years, but I finally did, because I do wonder about it sometimes. What was that all about? And it took me years, but I finally realized that I wasn't happy either in that relationship. But I'm so loyal, I never would have left. So this person did me the biggest favor, but it took me a while to see it. And I think that I agree. And I think what you're saying and what I agree with is it's not, for me, it's not about the challenges that I have. I'll always have challenges. I've had them my whole life.
Exactly.
But it's right. But it's what I do with them and how I get through them that really makes a difference.
Yeah. To come out on the other side, see, because nobody knows your story better than you. You can have people on the outside, you can have friends, associates, and things of that nature that know things about you and know things that you've been through. But to be the one to actually go through it is something totally different. It's different being the one that has to go through these things and somebody knowing what you're going through. It's like somebody that's in the hospital and they're fighting for their life. They're going through, a certain situation, and you can pray for them. And, we can say, oh, I pray for you and I keep you lifted up in the name of Jesus and things of that nature. But it's a whole different thing when you're the one going through. You know what I'm saying? When you're the one on that hospital bed going through fighting for your life. So it's just different avenues and different ways of looking at it. And so, people on the outside looking in, they don't know really the challenges that you actually been through and how you endured and came out on the other side. And a lot of times, Jill, I hate to say this, a lot of times people don't want to see you come out on the other side.
Yeah. 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 So at this point, everybody knows I do what I call channel information, right? And I wrote, a book with 30 messages from this, what I call guidance. That's just help. 30 messages about different topics. And something that I have in the book and something they taught me is something I heard you say maybe, which is that a lot of times we project in terms of other people's suffering. And what they told me about that is that if I think that someone else's suffering is worse than mine, you mentioned this hospital bed, really, they told me that's like a judgment. Because everybody's going through their own thing and it doesn't matter. There is no hierarchy when it comes to suffering. And if I don't allow myself to feel my own suffering or because I either think, well, someone else has it worse or, you just don't know. And I'll give you an example of that. I'm physically disabled. I've been that way since I was a child. And that's also, there are a lot of stories about that in my book as well. But I worked through the 80s. I worked in the disability rights community as an advocate and did a lot of work through that time for disabled people. This was there weren't a lot of wheelchair ramps. There was a lot going on back then, and there was a lot of education we had to do. So I had a lot of friends, still do, who were physically disabled. And I remember one friend in particular, a man who was at that time in his late 20s. He was in a wheelchair permanently, and he told me he had an accident in his 20s, I believe, or maybe whatever it was, late teens. And he said to me that he was grateful to be in his chair because if he wasn't, he knew he'd be dead. So I could sit, right, and feel sorry for him. He's in a wheelchair. He was a young guy. His whole life now is going to be, he won't be able to walk. But, that opened my eyes too, right? So in guidance, when this voice came to me and said, everybody's suffering's on par. There is no hierarchy. Just, allow yourself your moment. And that really resonated with me because of what this friend had told me years earlier.
I like that. I like that. I mean, same way, like you said, I'm listening to you say on par, because sometimes we tend to want to judge people based on what they do. Oh, well, they're a sinner. Well, I may be doing things that's not appropriate either, but it may not be to the level that they're doing it. But I find myself judging what they're doing and not judging what I'm doing. And as you say on par, I know that it says that sin is sin. There's no big sin. There's no little sin. So I can't judge you because of your sinful nature when I have my own sinful nature.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that once you start thinking about life like that, as you were saying with the guy, once you start thinking about things like that, it changes your perception on how you view things yourself. You know, and so that's just what I take from. That's what I take from Jill. So Jill, let me ask you. What do you mean when you say guidance is like a radio frequency of love?
Well, I said it's like a radio frequency because I tuned into it, and my belief is that this frequency, what is perhaps maybe on the other side of the veil, I don't know how other people perceive it, I think it's always there. And one reason I got to that is because after I started to learn about this or pick up on this, I mean, there were other people who also were getting similar messages. It's not just me. I'm not special. As I said earlier, maybe it was in my DNA to say yes, and I was open and right side of the brain, whatever. But the point is, like I say in my book, what I'm getting is not new. It's so love. It's all about love. It's all about reminding us to be compassionate, kind, loving toward ourselves so we can love others. And it's not new, but it's something that a lot of people have heard. A lot of people are tuned into. My book is just, as I said, what I write is it's just maybe a new way to hear it or to read about it. But that's why I say it's like a radio frequency, because I think it's always available. Just tune in,
I like that. I like that. So radio frequency, tune in to yourself. I mean, there's so many ways and directions you can go with that. You tune in to yourself, and find out your purpose in life and where it's trying to take you to, but too many times, too often, and I hate to be what they call a Debbie Downer and give people real information. But like we talked about before we started, you have to be authentic in what you say instead of worried about other people's radio frequency and what's going on with the Housewives of Atlanta and things of that nature, the Housewives of Beverly Hills. Start tuning in to yourself. Start tuning in to what you're seeing and what's trying to come your way, because what they got is not for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to tune in to where you are going in life. That's just how
I absolutely agree. Who knew we had so much in common in terms of I agree. That's one of the things that I've learned from tarot, which is actually about knowing oneself, tuning in, and also from the same thing with what I call guidance, this wonder of the universe that has these messages for us about love. What I've learned is that it all starts here. And a lot of times when I tell people that, I also have to say, it's not a selfish act, because we all know that if I do better, if I feel better, I'll do better for the people I love. I won't, tell that customer service person I'm dealing with to, yell at her because she's not helping me in the way I want. I mean, it is really so important. And I say this a little teary-eyed, just really agreeing with what you said. I have to be mindful about what I'm doing. And it doesn't always mean I get it right. It doesn't always mean that I'm so far from perfect. I am judgmental. I am jealous. I can get angry. I can be triggered by many things and feel bad and unfortunately maybe take it out on people I love. But with awareness, I know when I'm in the wrong. I know how to apologize. I know how to learn from that experience so that I can do better next time.
I totally agree with you. It starts with the heart. And the heart is empathy. because I can have empathy for a person, as we were talking earlier, that is even par. I can have empathy for a person that's going through something instead of downing them, like, you know what I'm saying? Like just belittling people or whatever, because I'm not going through that situation. Or if I don't have this ailment and this and that, I can look at somebody else, as if they're different. That's because we're living in a society now, Jill, and I hate to say this, I'm going to say it. We're living in a society now where empathy is lost. Mm-hmm. Because love is being vanished, away from the households, from the schools, at your job and things like that. People just don't love like we used to, you know what I'm saying? And so that diminishes a lot of things in earth because we don't love each other. Family members turning against each other. We can't even love our own family members that we grew up with and that we, that was a trained behavior to love those, in your family, and you try to give all the love that you can, but then as you get older and you start realizing things and start coming into your own, people don't give you the same love back that you dish out. But one thing I've learned in that, Jill, is that I can't, because I think we talked about this earlier, sidebar, your integrity. Mm-hmm. My integrity won't allow me to stoop down to the level that you're at. Mm-hmm. Because, I can rise above that. Although you may be serving me disservice while I'm trying to show you love and you reflecting it back to me, I can't allow myself to feel like you're feeling because I see something different that maybe you don't see. Yeah. I mean, that's just life. And so, because if I allow you to dictate how I feel based on your feelings, then I'm missing out on what's ordained and what's purpose for me. And I'm not fit to miss out on what he has planned for me because of your misguidance, because you can't see straight, or as we were talking sidebar earlier, because you're so far in the depths of the darkness that you can't see the light. I may still be in the darkness, but I tell you what, I can see the light. And so Jill, let me ask you another question. How did your personal healing journey influence the way you help others today?
Well, you mentioned integrity. It's kind of the only way I know in terms of my own work, the work that I have done and the work I continue to do. Like, to give you an example, there's a chapter in my book about forgiveness. I grew up, as I said, physically disabled, and unfortunately with a mother who wasn't very emotionally available to me. And she and I spent our entire lives at odds with one another. It was terrible. And I was a miserable person because of it, a miserable adult. That's what I finally realized with the help of actually guidance, because I went to them. I'm like, my relationship with my mom is affecting everything. It affects all my relationships. And they said, forgiveness would heal. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing. There's a chapter in my book about it, but I did learn how to forgive. I realized that forgiveness is something, if I don't forgive, it holds me back. I feel stuck. Anyway, I spent a lot of time working on that, and I did ultimately forgive my mom. She's died now a few years back. And I'm going to say this. I not only forgave her, but I realized I liked who she was as a person, something I never could have said years ago. I mean, I didn't like her as a person. I miss her now as a person, who she was as a woman in the world, but yet I can still say she wasn't a good mom. That's just the truth of it. She wasn't a good mom. And it doesn't mean that but I'm not harboring any kind of dislike of her or anything. It's just these two things that I can hold together. And to your question, that's just one example, because I now understand what forgiveness is and what it offers. So when I talk to a client about forgiveness, or guidance does, or tarot does, I myself understand how difficult it is to work through that. I understand that it's not a one and done, that when I first started to forgive my mom, it took a couple of years before I actually felt it and really could partake in emotionally in how that felt. I mean, these ideas are not easy. I'm willing to do the work, and I continue to on my own struggles and what I want to achieve. And that's how I believe I help others. I'm not on some mountaintop saying I'm so, like I know so much. I don't know so much. It's just that I'm somebody who's willing. I have been willing to feel better in my life. Did I have a choice? I don't know. I mean, I grew up at a time, I'm going on and on about this, but I grew up at a time in the 60s when being a physically disabled kid brought on a lot of stares and don't look. And I wasn't mainstreamed. People thought I was retarded. I mean, now we wouldn't even use that word. And I grew up in New York City where there are a lot of people, and I'm up and down steps on subways and one at a time. And just this constant sense that I am being stared at and at the same time not seen at all for who I was. Either people felt sorry for me or they would, strangers, what's wrong with you? I mean, just constant. And I really had my ego was, I had a lot of self-hate and a lot of insecurities. And I got to the point in my life when I realized how I felt about myself wasn't working. It wasn't working. My life was miserable. And I decided to change.
I'm sitting here listening to you. And, one thing that you said when you talk to your clients that you can relate to them because you know how hard it is. And that goes back to that empathy part that we were talking about. I can relate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not so high, like you say, on the mountain where I'm not right there because it didn't surpass me. So I can actually tell you what I went through. And so as I'm listening to you, I just give you even more kudos for still standing here, being on this podcast today, in the state that you're in. For one, like you say, you made me think about it because I work in a steel mill. I work in the steel industry. And sometimes we have to cut steel. Sometimes we have like what we call cobbles and they get stuck into the machine. And so you got to cut it out. And man, you have all these people, big bosses and your turn managers and everybody, they sitting there watching you. I do not like people standing around watching me. You know what I'm saying? It makes me uncomfortable. And so I know what you said, to that instant where you say just constantly people watching you, or like my son run track. I thought about it when you said this. My son run track, right? And so we was at a track meet yesterday, and any other track meets that you go to. And you always have that person that's whether they run in the 1600, you got to run 4 times around the track. And you always have that one person that's just lagging after everybody. And then when they get to the final stretch, the whole crowd is clapping for them. You know what I'm saying? To like, yeah, you made it. Like, do that. Like, is that really encouraging? Or do I feel like, they encourage me to hurry up because I took so long to get across this finish line? So is it really building me up? So so I'm comparing the two because I'm getting what you're saying. It's like, either you feeling sorry for me or you looking at me like, like, and I don't like neither one of them. I don't like either circumstance. And then as you say, to top it off, and this is why I give you even more kudos for standing and standing strong, is that you say, then I come home and then I didn't have a mother that embraced the things that I went through.
No, I was really on my own. My dad was more emotional, but he had his own issues, some mental stuff. So he wasn't really a solid person for me either. I was a lot on my own going through all of that as a kid and even as an adult, on my own. But at the same time, something you said earlier about how our challenges can make us stronger, and being left alone emotionally and also being left alone physically in so many ways also made me that independent person that I am. And I like that part of myself. They didn't coddle me, far from it. So, looking back, I have to say, I think I gained some strength from that. And not everybody is resilient. Maybe that's also my DNA. I'm resilient, right? Some people might have been crushed by that, but I have maybe resilience in my bone. And I know that, like I said, not everybody has that. But I hope that the book I've written at least offers people a sense
Mm-hmm.
that there are challenges that can be overcome when we're aware, when we ask, when we want to feel better about ourselves.
Check out the movement. Family, real quick. Lean in. If you're listening to this right now, then you already know the Moneyway ain't just a podcast. It's a movement. So make sure you tap into everything we building. It's a Moneyway moving music. New tracks dropping every week. It's the CJ Moneyway Show. Global ranked, purpose-driven voices. Moneyway mindset. Daily inspiration. Real talk, no fluff. You can find it all right now on Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere you stream. Just search out your Moneyway. That's where purpose lives. That's where the next level starts. And that's where we leveling up. Together. Now let's get back to the show.
You know, I'm sitting here listening to you because it's such an amazing story. And like you said, I like, that you're being authentic and, showing your vulnerability with us today. And one thing I was thinking as you said I was, saying alone in this process. My father, mental challenges, mother just, and I know that hurt because I've been talking about this recently on how as a child, when the child is a baby, and, mom and daddy feeding you. I don't know if you have children or not, but, you're feeding the babies and, it's that trust factor. You know what I'm saying? Where they trust in you. They can't talk or whatever, but you're feeding them. When they crying, you changing their diapers. You at that trust factor stage. And so, like in life, and I guess that's one thing I want to ask you, like in life, just growing up, how was your trust factor? Like you were saying something earlier about your relationship that you was in and that you would never have left, you know what I'm saying? Because you was that loyal, you know what I'm saying? And, I just can't do it because I know how, if I love someone, because I know how it is not to be loved, you know what I'm saying? In the way that I want to be loved. So I guess I want to ask you is, how was your trust factor and how is it today?
Well, my trust factor was always low. I mean, for a lot of reasons, one is, if I walked into a restaurant and people stared at me when I was younger, I would think, my teen years, my college years, whatever, it was like, oh, are they staring at me because I'm limping or are they staring at me because I'm like gorgeous or hot? You know what I mean? Like, my trust factor was low. As a matter of fact, I married in my 50s and I said to that person, I actually said it would take me a while to trust them. And what I realized over time, and this person, he's so steady, loved me, really, that didn't scare him off. And I started to notice, so I'm in my 50s, and I started to notice that when he hugged me and he said he loved me, I didn't believe him. Mm-hmm. It felt like I had talk about love and warmth in me. I felt like I couldn't feel at all, like it didn't penetrate. And I had to start asking myself, well, what am I offering to him if I can't take it in? Do I love him? I mean, what am I doing? And again, we're talking about perception and awareness, something that I've learned to be more mindful about for myself. And I started to realize that this was really unhealthy. If I'm going to be married, I was married, very unhealthy. And I started to work on that aspect of myself and that trust. And I am a lot, 180 degrees now about trust. And it's also helped me to not take things too personally, trusting more. And there's a lot of benefits to that. But yeah, thanks for the question. I actually no one's ever asked me that before, but man, my trust factor was pretty poor.
I mean, I can imagine, when you do shows like this, you come across a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Everybody got different stories, but some stories are similar in nature, but different in the concepts. Yeah. And I've been dealing with people lately that had certain things. Like I just talked to a young lady last week that was adopted and then had find her adopted mother until she was 40, and then she started building a relationship with her mother, after that. But it's a trust factor there that somebody, neglects you, because I'm correlating different situations, but it's the same. not finding love from the person or the woman whom you feel should love you the most. And so I know that has to be a hurting feeling. And as I get older and as I grow, it laments in me. You know what I'm saying? It's there. I've suppressed it, but it's still there. And so I'm trying to act like it doesn't bother me and live my everyday life, normal life, but I got some issues.
That was my life. I mean, I really grew up believing that my mom didn't love me. I mean, that's a hard, and it wasn't, because she didn't show it and she wasn't there for me and didn't care. She was not good at it. She was cold. And I could go on and on, but the point is, to not have that, to not see that, to not know that a parent loves you is, I had to go through a lot to change my own perception about that. And I did realize, we're talking about forgiveness, through forgiveness, I was able to really start to understand that she did the best she could. And having empathy for that and sympathy for that, because I think she lost out.
You know what? And I'm going to leave it on this. You said something earlier that made me think about it. You said I was alone. I think I tried to touch on. You said I was alone in this process. But as you were saying that, I was thinking a lot of times we may feel like we're alone, but we're really not alone because he's protecting us and guiding us to the positions that, that the road that he wants us to go in. Because you said something earlier that really made me think about it. You said that I had the fortitude, I'm paraphrasing it. You said I had the fortitude to reply and say yes, because it was something, he was always there with you. And so when it came time to move forward, my answer was yes. I didn't know your presence was there. I didn't know that you was protecting me and guiding me through everything that I was going through. So when you called me and say, this is what I want you to do, this is what I need you to do, your response was, I want to say, it was Isaiah. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, he say, who shall I send and who shall go for me? And he said, send me, I'll go. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times we just waiting on the call, and then some respond, some don't. It say, many shall be called, few shall be chosen. So, Jill, let me ask you this, about to wind it down a little bit. Man, like I say, this has been exciting and been fun. Vulnerability is a big part of your storytelling. Why do you feel it's so powerful?
That's another good question. Well, I'll tell you this. Looking back, when I was working in the disability rights community, I had to do a lot of panel discussions. I was on a lot of panels and also did a lot of talks. And it was all about educating people on disability advocacy, physical accessibility, and also to how people were being treated. But I learned back then that the best way that I could help people to understand why we needed a wheelchair ramp at that store, or why calling somebody retarded was not okay, was to tell my own story. I learned that in the 80s, that talking from a personal place was the best way to help people perhaps understand, like you used the word empathy, to get them to listen, open up. I think it's like when speakers start with a joke or something, or people, being vulnerable, and they use themselves, they make fun of themselves. There is something to that. I think we relate. But interestingly enough, I wasn't thinking about that when I wrote the book, Guidance from the Universe. It's called Hopeful Messages for Everyday Challenges. There's a little plug. I actually wrote the book initially with 30 messages from guidance on different topics, right? Like suffering and money and grief and jealousy and all that. I just made the decision to write my stories just because I thought it would add to the book. And I wrote my stories based on how I used the information myself to better my life, okay? I didn't even remember that in the 80s, I was telling my personal story to maybe help other people change their view about disabled people. But my point, what I'm trying to get to, is that these days when people write me or text me, or I run into people who've read my book, they're telling me that my stories, that is what they're relating to. That is where they start to understand for themselves what they're going through around grief or jealousy or judgment, these topics. And so there you have it. Stories, personal stories seem to be powerful. And I'm getting that validation again. But honestly, it wasn't what I was thinking when I wrote the book. I just thought, I'm just going to write how I've used the information. It was just kind of like that. But now I'm getting that, how helpful that is.
Mm-hmm. Because it was that intuition that propelled you to put the words on the paper, not knowing the expansion that it was going to bring, where you were really going to be helping others that was going through similar situations that you were going through. And it is a good thing when people can come back to you and say, you know what, I thank you for doing what you did because it helped me, and that's better than money, because.
Yeah, I did not expect that. I just thought people would go, oh, guidance's words are really helpful because they've helped me. But really, that's the feedback I'm getting. You're right. Yeah. And I did not expect that at all.
Oh, what a mighty, mighty man we serve. So, Jill, got one more question for you. Then I got a quick fire round. It's been a hot game on the CJ Moneyway Show. It's been a fan favorite, and my guests, they actually have enjoyed it, although you get stumbled a lot of times, but you can make it through. I'm going to ask you a question, and you give me the first thing that comes to your mind. But before we get there, tell us, where can we find you on social media, and where can we find your tarot reading cards, programs, and guidance from the universe?
Well, thanks for asking. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, my website, Substack at Jill Amy Sager, my full name. That's where you can find me. And Guidance from the Universe. This is the new book that just came out January. It's getting a lot of 5 stars. I appreciate that from people who are reading. And you can get that really where any books are sold, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
So go get the book. Guidance from the Universe just came out in January. Let's make Jill a #1 bestseller, not only on Amazon, but an international #1 bestseller. Ooh, and when you get the book, make sure to leave a review. Reviews are very important for people in our creative space, because as you know, it's just like when you go buy a product for Amazon, you go read the reviews to see how good this product is. Do they got good reviews or bad reviews? We're not taking anything less than 4 stars, but rate it as you feel.
Thank you.
So Jill, what's the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself through this journey?
That I'm competitive.
Very
and
competitive.
I'm competitive. I had no idea. I'm a very competitive person. I also have learned that I give off a very courageous vibe, to the point where sometimes people forget that I'm human with needs, that I'm such a strong person that times people forget that I'm vulnerable too, which has been surprising.
Yeah. You know what? Like you said, who knew that we had so much in common? I'm very competitive. Even me and my little son, I think it passed on to him. He's competitive. My wife, she's not as competitive, but if we play games or whatever, and we play a golf game, we was playing golf game on Wii back in the day, and things of that nature, or bowling, and she would beat us. And we're the athletes, and she would beat us. And so she got a little competitiveness in her too. And, as a father, I had kids before I got married. And so as a father, I can relate to what you're saying in the sense that I am strong-willed. I speak what's on my mind. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I love people, but I'm vulnerable too. I have feelings too, and sometimes I think that people overlook that you have feelings too.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised when people forget that about me. I'm like, wait a minute. But I give,
Father's Day, I like a card. I would like a Father's Day card, Birthday, I would like a birthday card. You know what I'm saying?
I like you're putting that out here. I hope your kids are going to listen.
Hey. Hey, so Jill, let's get to this quick fire round. Favorite tarot card and why?
Favorite tarot card has to be the Hanged Man, because the Hanged Man is all about seeing things from a different perspective. It's it's about, let's get out of our lane a little bit so we can see something a little bit different. And that's really important. We all kind of sometimes, our opinions, we stay with our opinions, we stay with our beliefs. The hangman's all about widening the view.
So hangman ain't got no rope around his neck, do he? You know what I'm saying? Because the game hangman, that's where you go up there. And I remember the cartoon. We old enough to know this cartoon, Jill. Tom and Jerry back in the day. And remember, it was one episode where he say, "Touche, Mr. Pussycat." You know what I'm saying? Because it was off with his head.
No. Well, the hangman it's called the hangman. I guess saying that sounds really bad. But the picture is of somebody upside down. That's all really. Seeing the world from a different vantage point. Yeah. I can imagine if you're upside down, everything is flowing down. You know what I'm saying? Your blood and drilling and everything. Topsy-turvy.
So, one word that defines your life right now.
Expectant.
Expectant.
I don't have expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I think having expectations is kind of a fool's errand or something, but I am expectant. I love thinking about what I'm doing today, where I'm headed. I'm a very motivated person, and so I'm expectant. I believe in love, and I think when I say that word, I just feel open. I just feel available. I feel that I'm just in the wonder of it, and I'm expectant of whatever goodness should come to me and others who I love and, everybody. I hope we can all feel that love and openness and just, being expectant of just good things. It's so easy to feel negative, and it's so easy to be, especially right today, everything what people are going through. I mean, but hope lives. Hope lives. And that's just another word for me, expectant of hope.
Yeah.
Hope.
Was you on the phone call with me and my guy, Garrick, last night? Hope is a substance of things not seen, yet still hoped for. Hey, you guys better listen to Jill right now. I'm trying to tell you, this is a lady who said that she got married in her 50s and had trust issues. When her husband hugged her, she didn't think that it was real. And so now you see the transformation where she says that she's big on love. This ain't a joke, everybody. This here is real conversation, real talk. Hey, most surprising reaction someone has had to your work besides what you told us in the last segment?
Surprising to me is that this is going to maybe sound weird, but that people think I'm a good writer. That is surprising to me. I mean, I do write. I have another book out. I will continue to write, not necessarily metaphysical things. I want to write I'm writing a memoir. I have some ghost stories I'm writing. And I think, I just haven't seen, I just don't know. But people are telling me that they love how I write, what I write. Most surprising and definitely feels good. I'm still surprised by that, I guess.
Hey, take the win, Jill. Take the win. Take the win. Hey.
Who knew?
Who knew? Who would ever know? This girl from the Bronx. Now, she from the hood. Now, the boogie down Bronx, baby. You know what I'm saying? So I know. I didn't get a chance to ask her this because I didn't know that she was from the Bronx until we started talking. But I know for a fact that, Jill, if you was raised in the Bronx, you are a New York Yankees fan.
That's right.
Okay. It couldn't be no other way. Bronx Bombers, baby. All day, every day. What might have that?
That's right.
Got it on the side. So anyway, dream place to travel and pull cards.
Oh, dream place. Wow. Well, Japan is a dream place for me. I was there once. I want to get back. To me, it's on the other side of, we live in a Judeo-Christian world here in the West. Mm-hmm. And when I went to Japan, it just felt completely different. And just like what I was saying about that hangman upside down, seeing something from a different perspective. And I'm going to put in, no matter where I go, my bias is that I really believe that travel, if you can save up pennies and do it, is so important. Talk about getting out of our own perspective. Mm-hmm. about how things are and how we live. So good to meet people from different cultures. That's one of the great things about the United States. We can do that, even just living here, and it's so important.
Yeah, I hope things stays that way. But that's another subject for another day, another time, for another time. And I don't want to go to El Salvador right now, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Jill, let me ask you, because what you just said made me think. I just interviewed someone the other day. They're from, I don't want to say from Texas. They're from Houston. And they was telling me, they say, he said, man, Houston is a beautiful place. And so he was telling me about some things that people may not know. He's like, it's like 160 different languages here. And in every city, you have all these different type of foreign food places that you can eat. I'm like, man, I never knew that. So as you were saying, like you just find more interesting things the more that you reach out and you go places other than where you at. I'm from the hood. I told you, I'm from Gary, Indiana. So I'm from the hood. And it's a perception that a lot of times we don't leave the hood. We don't leave where we from to explore and see different things in life. Get out there and go see some different things in life, man. It's better places than where you're at. Unless you're already in California, we ain't gonna talk about that. We already know Jill went from the Bronx to LA. I would ask her which one she liked the best, but I think she's residing in LA. And
no, San Francisco. San Francisco.
San Francisco?
The Bronx to San Francisco.
It's California. It's the same thing. Now, are you a Warriors fan?
Yeah, I used to go to games, and I used to go to the 49ers when Joe Montana was a quarterback. Back in the day when they were winning Super Bowls.
Nope, I was a Dallas Cowboy fan for the longest. I was Cowboy, so I still remember the catch. Dwight Clark and Joe Montana broke our hearts in the NFC Championship game. Broke my heart. I like Joe Montana. He was one of the best. He was the GOAT until Tom Brady came along. But San Francisco, I just, I can go with Golden State, but I can't roll with you on the Niners. I don't care what card you pull out, Jill. I'm not doing it. Hey, so dream place. Okay, I asked you that one. A piece of advice you would give your younger self.
Don't take everything so personal.
I hope you all heard that. Quit taking things so personal. Thank you, Jill, for joining us today and sharing your soul-stirring wisdom. Whether it's a card, a shift in thinking, or a spark of hope. As she just said, hope is the substance of things not seen, but yet hoped for. Reminds us that we always have access to the guidance we need. As Jill said earlier, just be open to move when the guidance call comes. Until next time, this is the CJ Moneyway Show, powered by CJ Moneyway Entertainment and GI, the state's capital. The animated series coming soon, 2027. Be on the lookout. Follow me on my GI Facebook page where you'll find more information about that. Until then, keep planting seeds of purpose. This your boy CJ Moneyway with my girl Jill. We out of here. Peace.
Thank you.
Before you go, let me leave you with this. Every story shared here, it's a reminder that your story matters too. Keep your faith sharp, keep your focus steady, keep your vision clear. And if this episode gave you wisdom, hope, or a push forward, share it with somebody you love. Tap in with me on all platforms, Edge Moneyway, and stay locked into the movement, because God's not done writing your chapter. This is the CJ Moneyway Show. Brick by brick, and always Moneyway.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.